So here we are in Silicon Valley, right in front of Hooley headquarters. Actually, it's not Hooley for you Silicon Valley watchers. We're in front of the Convention Center in San Jose at the 2016 Realcomm Ibcon conference. As usual, I'm with the man, the myth, the legend, and we have our woman from the Valley, Therese Sullivan. Therese, we're in your home turf.
I know. I was just pointing out to Ken that over there is the Adobe building, one of the first LEED Platinum buildings in the country. Yep, and we're here in front of the Convention Center. We got a beautiful mission-style place, and it couldn't be a nicer weather.
The weather is just absolutely gorgeous. So, here we are again at another Realcomm Ibcon conference. We just got through with the pre-con, so we hadn't even really gotten to the meat of the subject. But Kenny, tell our listeners about what we saw, some of the things we saw today.
Well, I think Jim Young and Howard Berger and Lisa Woods, they really killed it with the group that assembles here every year, annual event. Realcomm Ibcon is probably the largest convergence of the smart people, the supply and demand, as Jim says. He summed it up very good, very eloquently, that you'll never get to a meeting where the most technology, the innovation, the leading edge stuff is going to meet with the people that need it the most. And so much happens in networking. And then today was an isolated session, so everybody got to go into their particular areas of expertise. And then tomorrow they're going to mash it all together. So it's going to be just tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. We'll be covering more about some of the breakouts that we attended, but cybersecurity jumps up again.
Well, it does, and we spent the afternoon at the Systems Integrator Conference. And Therese, what were some of your favorite things? That was really rich, wasn't it?
Right. I think first I have to say thank you, Lisa Woods, for bringing me a chair in. It was packed. There was standing room only. All the aisles were filled, and so that was great. I think there was about 100 in that room or more. So the crowd was good, and what I appreciated most is the startup. First little mini session within the session was about the Edge building in Amsterdam from the guy that was the master system integrator on that, or at least the company. That was really good start.
Well, that building was incredible, wasn't it? I think it's the most energy efficient building in the world. This integrator gave really the rest of its users and integrators tips on how to have the smartest building in the world.
Well, it was Jacob Jansen, and he was from HCRT out of Amsterdam, and in the European view of he said that this thing's a journey, and he said all roads lead to Rome, which is kind of cool because I got where in the first stop was the Cologne, in Germany, but he was saying how they had taken the lead. They started out kind of interested and they became the experts, and now they provide, they have what they consider to be the most integrated, the smartest, most intelligent, greenest building in the world.
Yeah, I like the way he broke it down. He said we had we'd call it a post-mortem maybe, after they built the building, and said if we could start over again, what are the important components? And that really set the stage for the day when he set out I probably can't name them now, but the 6 things like a single network, cloud, make the most of the cloud, make sure you got security, but definitely, he set the stage for all the other things we were going to talk about for the rest of the day.
Well, he really did. And one of the things he said was start early. So in other words, the integrators, typically the way it is now, get involved later after the building's plans have already been done. So you got to start early. And of course, from there, we got into John Petsy, the king of data, big data with Sky Founder. He gave a great presentation. Great messages there. He kind of broke down the different terminologies, the different ways data is being used. But one of the takeaways I got from that, guys, is don't be gratuitous with your data. Have data for a reason.
Yeah, and I love following that up with Scott Cochran's session, where he had the full panel. That was really kind of the meat of the sandwich, I think, that panel and their discussion of the role of the master system integrator. He had not only Eric up there, but
Paul Maxima.
Paul Maxima from Ford.
Yep.
So really from the customer side of buying system integration services. And one of my takeaways really there is how this master system integrator role is part facilities, have that background, but be an IT expert. And Paul of Ford, he really represents that.
Oh, they sure did. And some of the things they were saying was that it's about creating more value. And then Scott said too, you don't throw technology at something without careful aim. In other words, what are you trying to achieve? And if it doesn't work and it doesn't reduce the cost, if you're not taking the best technology and it doesn't have an appreciable effect, then probably you should change your strategy.
Me change the game. And Paul, what a knowledgeable guy he is, huh?
Oh, yeah. And I appreciated Al from, I think it was Building Logic.
Yeah.
And his perspective on, I liked his Fitbit analogy about analytics you need is, or for because their topic area was industrial Internet of Things, how that was just really the data you need. Don't be overwhelmed by data. They brought a real sense of realism to the whole topic area of industrial.
Well, I think he did. And one of the beautiful things about your city, Therese, is you look around and you just see famous people everywhere. As a matter of fact, I think I see, is that the man in black? No, it's not Eugene Mazzo, it's Ken Sinclair from Automated Buildings. Ken, come on in, man. Look, I tell you what, just because you're in California now, man, rehearsals were at 4. Where have you been, buddy? Hop on in.
Yeah, we're looking at you.
You forgot to tell me where you were rehearsing.
Oh, okay.
I've
Well,
been looking around. Good
well, we
project.
were just talking about data and not having gratuitous data, and we thought that would be a bit gratuitous to tell you where we were going to do this. So we're just sort of breaking down the systems integrators roundtable a little bit. And what struck you as sort of particularly potent today?
The fact that there are not so many new ideas, but actually trying to implement all of the ideas that have gone before. And it's complicated. It's basically really complicated to take all of that and put it into a business and make some money.
Well, I think you've been saying this for a while, and Kenny and I have too, and Teresa, I think you would echo this too. It actually, at the end of the day, the technology is great. It's being able to explain the technology in such a way that people can make decisions. I think, you sort of came up with, and Kenny and I concur, sort of analysis by paralysis by analysis, so many choices. And I think you're right. It's complicated is a good way to say it.
Well, I think so too. And then the filtering of the data, like we had users from all walks of major users. We had the gentleman from Black Bedrock. We had the other gentleman from Ford Motors, and they had different perspectives. And there goes the data visualization and how each expects a certain visualized, they want to see what's going on. They want data presented in the most informative, intuitive way possible. And it was great to hear the users and what they expect from master systems integrators and from us. I thought another part of the panel that was important was distributors and how, Scott Cochran being a large distributor and you being a large distributor, your perspective on it was that these guys rely on help. They rely on consultants that aren't really consultants from the professional level. They come from an industry and they know the industry very well. So you guys served as great consultants on providing them the latest and greatest innovations, the best way to spend a buck on integrating your system, make it smart, intelligent, connected, and both in the industrial application and also in the commercial.
I think that's a big part of it. And one of the statements, and Ken, I'll get your opinion on this because you come from the Johnson branch originally. And it was a while ago, but Kenny and I have been sort of preaching the concept that if you want to be relevant, you sort of almost have to be brand agnostic. The technologies are changing so quickly now that as an integrator or distributor, you better be up to speed and you better be able to offer the best solution to your customer, or at least be aware of it. But the days of being, I handle this brand and this is all I handle, I think are dying. And sort of along with that comes a term that you term called, because I think Al made the statement, you can't know all the systems. So what are you going to do? Well, Ken Sinclair, our Notre Dame here, basically came up with a term called co-competition. And I think you have to be willing to partner with people to provide the solution, and you have to have your eye on the best solution for the customer.
Actually, another comment that Cochran added to the
San Jose Airport is very close.
Okay. We're talking.
Ken's jet's going by.
That's right. So added the issue that they had to get involved in the technology. They had to provide the support as well as providing equipment. And I think that's a task that's very obvious for everyone is just how is that change? How is all that information going to get transferred? And it looks like you're in as you've always been in the teaching business, but now you're into almost consulting and technologically. What was the other term that came out of that? The master integrator?
Master systems integrator.
Master systems integrator. Thanks for that, clarifying that. And we're getting a need to do that. I think almost every company needs to have that person on their staff. They don't necessarily have to be the master systems integrator, but they have to understand what they do understand, and so they can reach out to other masters to to put the whole plan together. So I think that was there was some good stuff on that for sure.
Well, as we like to say down south, you got some explaining to do, so you have to have somebody on your team that can explain it to everybody, right?
Yeah, and advocate. I think that one of the themes that seemed to get pulled through from the discussion of the edge into the Ford discussions, certainly Scott Cochran brought it out, is procurement. That idea that you need the master system integrator or the advocate to the owner that's sitting there, I think in the architecture engineering world called the charrette, the original project team meetings, that you need that person that the technology has gotten too complex for the building owner to advocate for themselves, but they should have somebody on the team that understands enough about the whole building issues to be judging these solutions that are being brought in. And that's part of the procurement process. It's got to change so that it's not focused on bringing 98 cents. I think it was actually another person we haven't mentioned, was Intelligent Buildings, that Rob Murchison came in and explained about you got to change procurement's idea of trying to do the value engineering of bringing down prices on everything and coming up to really what anything that you procure, bring in, it's got to contribute value to the system within the context of the whole building and the other systems.
I want to add to what Therese was portraying there. It's even getting more complicated because in the old days we just used to control temperature. And now we used to turn lights on and off, but now we're actually getting into this people piece and the productivity. So everything you just talked about that was getting quite complicated actually even gets more complicated, and the systems, the master systems integrator now includes the integration of the people. So we might be kind of almost heading into psychology,
engineering. Yeah, well, just to give an idea, some of the neat stuff when you come here, you got people that are experts in their particular fields, and they summarize just how big the market is. I mean, somebody get their calculations going here. If you have 14 billion square feet in North America of real estate, and it's $8 per square feet, how large is that market? And why is that? That's why people are here, because that is a gigantic market, and it represents a sponge, because only, 5% of the buildings presently have the super intelligent, connected, the higher level of building, but there's 80% of the buildings out there that don't have adequate control, and there's just a tremendous amount of energy to be saved.
Well, I tell you what, and then the other thing that sort of blew me away is the lawyers are coming. Leroy Walden's presentation on cybersecurity and a master systems integrator out of Atlanta and what he's having to do legally. So be very careful, our systems integrators out there. Do not sign without reading, because now you might be signing away liability for cybersecurity, and if the system gets hacked, you could be the one footing the bill.
This was really and I've been anxious to say this, because this was probably the biggest takeaway I got today, was that they're doing a cyber pat down now. So this gentleman named Deepak Patel, who had done a prior presentation, said that you now, if you're the outside expert, you're the outside firm that has privileged access, and you become the weak link, you accept that liability. You're now at risk. So he was saying about insurance, you just you need to read between the lines now, because the verbiage coming out in these contracts, especially a master systems integrator, you have to have a knowledge equal to or greater than the customer you're servicing.
Right. That master system integrator term was in some cases juxtaposed also about the building commissioner, and I'm seeing those roles are starting to merge, and I think that's an interesting aspect too.
Well, it is for sure, and I tell you what, we were just at one breakout session today. There were about 10 of them going on. Realcomm Ibcon is the place to be. You got to check out, there's going to be doing the live streaming tomorrow, so you'll be able to check that out. And I tell you what, young gun Rob Allen was actually at the boot camp. So let's see if we can get Rob on camera real quick and tell us about the boot camp. Hey, Rob! Drop the margarita, come on over here. No, you can call her later. It's okay, sweetie, he'll be with you in a minute.
Well, I'm no fool. I'm standing right here next to Therese. I'm not going to get close to you guys.
Hey, this is Rob Allen from Stromquist & Company, Young Gun Rob Allen, 7 Minutes in Control. Rob, man, tell me about the boot camp, man.
That's awesome. So I came to this last year, and I think for about 11 months and 29 days I've been begging you to let me come back, because I enjoyed it so much. The boot camp is intelligentbuildings.com boot camp. they did a totally different rollout this year and kind of switched it all up, and so they brought a lot more people that are actually doing it, that are putting intelligent buildings together, going out and talking about how this happens. And so probably 85% of the entire room was just building owners, property managers, that type of stuff. So that's really who they were talking to. But I'll tell you what, the big takeaway is that we've had the technology for 5, 6, 7, 8 years at least, and it's just been very slow to implement. But based on what I heard today and based on some of the networking opportunities that I had and the breaks, stuff like that, implementation is now. This is when people are starting to do this. They're starting to see the reason why analytics is important, starting to see how they can't afford not to go and implement some of these things. I've got a lot of takeaways that I'm going to share with our community for sure. The other thing is another big message, and this is kind of a little bit of give us a black eye for our industry, is what they say, that the HVAC contractors are not adept at handling networks and doing that. Don't let those guys do that, and work with an IT administrator, and that's what needs to happen. And I mean, for me, I'm going, gosh darn it, how did we miss that? But it is a reality, and it's time to do it.
Well, I think you're really right. And again, we talked about from Ken Sinclair, AutomatedBuildings.com, came out with the term co-competition. And I know with our integrators in Atlanta, and this was one of the themes at our breakout session, was you can't know it all. So you really need to partner with people that do. And you got people like Hepta Systems, Ted and Jason Hauk. I mean, those guys, they know the IT and all that other stuff. You can bring those guys in and just do that part of the job, right?
Yeah, there's a whole entire industry of just people that want to do nothing but install. There's some folks that couldn't dream of doing install as their primary thing. They hate doing that. But then when you get down to the meat and potatoes of stuff, the problem that you have is if this is brand new to you, you're going to have a really hard time going and intelligently speaking to the C-suite and convincing them that this makes sense. So why not partner up with somebody? There's like you said, the Ted Houcks of the world. So there's people from the contractor level, but then the manufacturers now are having out ambassadors and stuff like that that'll go with you and help you tell the story. So you're running out of reasons why not to hop on this train.
Well, you better hop on the train, because the train I think it probably already has left the station. I think part of the message, Rob, is you can't fake it till you make it anymore. But the good news is if you go to ControlTrends, AutomatedBuildings.com, BuildingContext.me, I mean, you can find out who these players are, and they want to partner with you. And the new rules, it's not that you got to do co-competition. I mean, if you violate, and that's based on trust and integrity. So if you partner up with somebody, they're not going to take your customer away from it, because the one thing they trade off of is their reputation, both their reputation to be able to do the job, but also their reputation they're going to protect their partners. And I think Ken Sinclair would concur. That's one of the new rules of co-competition. He's nodding his head yes. Yep. There we go. All right. Get back in here.
Yeah, so I was saying that one of my key quotes, in fact, I tweeted it out from the Bedrock Detroit guy, is he said you don't get a second chance, that there's a lot of vendors, there's a vendor confusion in the market, a lot of overpromising, and he expects, put a lot of emphasis on the role of the master system integrator and how they groom people to work with them, and that's how they become successful. And you can't overpromise. Once these guys have been burned once, you don't get another chance.
The internet never forgets.
That was another good takeaway. Is they're saying that there's, you focus on your core first, then the business, then the fancy stuff. And too often people are coming in and focus on the fancy stuff, and they go to the C-suite and they say, hey, we can control your water fountain. Isn't that cool? We can dim the lights in your boardroom when, 5 minutes until the building's about to be over. And you kind of lose people right away because they can't determine the ROI on that and, whatever else.
Well, in some of the other really specific, he said that the MSI is considered a team member. And earlier they can bring him into, they represent 2% of the cost of the overall. He's saying that it's $200 per square foot to build a new building. So when they factor in the cost of the master systems integrator, what he can bring to the table is he helps set the specification so the customer gets what he wants, and he ensures it. He's like the commissioning agent. He makes sure that what was promised was delivered and works. He is their eyes and ears. He has the senses that if something's not working right or something's going astray, that he's going to sense it and help it out. And basically, this guy, he said after it's all said and done, he wants a graphical interface that is the same all the time, every time. So that was a pretty neat thing.
I think the other one too with the systems integrator, the master, is the ability to pull together a team, because he may not know every piece of it. His expertise will obviously come from one strain, and I actually get involved in a few projects, and that's probably the biggest value I add, is that I often suggest they add somebody to the project that they hadn't even thought of adding, another person who has expertise in another different area. And now as we start moving into the productivity piece, that's going to be even more important that we tie up those people. But these masters, they need to understand what they don't know. That's probably more important than what they do know, is what they understand what we don't know. And as an industry, maybe that's the message too. We need to better understand what it is we do not know and get help.
And not overpromise. And not overpromise.
Well, as being a guy who's been married 4 times, I can tell you that is very wise advice. So there you have it. It's Eric Stromquist, Ken Smyers from ControlTrends.com. We are joined by Ken Sinclair from AutomatedBuilding.com and Therese Sullivan from BuildingContext.me. We got young gun Rob Allen behind the camera. Be sure to check him out on Control Trends. 7 minutes of controls with Rob Allen, because when you're young, it doesn't take you as long to explain stuff. We'll touch base with you guys tomorrow.
Good. That was good.
Leave a lot of